to the channel. So it's been pretty hot outside and it's gonna get even hotter. So we're gonna go to where I have my plants at, and I'm gonna walk you guys through some of the things that I do to make sure that my plants stay in the cooler air, and make sure that they don't die from being overheated and stuff like that. So let's get to it. Plants that are outside can handle a wide range of temperatures, but you want to make sure that you're not letting them go without water for too long, because then they can end up drying out and wilting, and there's no way to save them because there's a lot of issues that come with that. So the highest temperature for outside plants that you can let them get to is around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you just want to make sure that you're watering them every couple of days with cold water so that it cools the air down around them, so that they're not using all the water inside of them to cool the air down around them themselves. Now, there are plants that can handle the higher temperatures up in the 100-degree range, but you don't want them to be in full sun, because if they're in that full sun along with that super high heat, then they can start to burn and the leaves will turn black or brown, and you won't be able to save the leaf, and you'll have to cut it off because that plant will keep putting energy into keeping that leaf alive. So you want to make sure that they're in a shaded area if they're outside and it's going to be over 90 degrees. Now, if you have something like this DIY greenhouse that I made, this is a good way to help control some of the heat and moisture and humidity that they get, especially if it's been a couple of weeks since you've gotten any rain or something like that. Because what you can do is you can get like a container, like a 2-liter or even a bucket from Walmart, and fill it with cold water. And as the inside of that greenhouse warms up, that water will evaporate and then condensate and create a water cycle inside that greenhouse, and that will help to keep your plants cooled down, even though it's going to be like 10 degrees warmer inside that greenhouse than it is outside. But you also can make sure that if you have one of the bigger greenhouses, you can make sure that you have like little mini fans in there. I don't have any right now because I don't need them yet, but I'll probably end up getting them soon. It's pretty easy to tell how healthy your plants are just by looking at them, especially if they're outside in the heat. If they're standing up straight and strong, then there's really no need to water them. I just watered these a couple of days ago as well, and they're still pretty wet, so I should be fine on these. There are other plants that use up water a lot faster because of the type of plant that they are, like these arrowhead plants here. This soil is pretty dry, and I watered this just like 2 days ago. The bigger the plant, the more water it's going to use, because it needs to get water out to all of its leaves and stems to keep that green color and to keep it alive. Coleuses can handle to go through like a dry period as long as it's not too long, and as long as you catch it early enough. This soil is pretty dry, so we'll be watering this today. Now, these Alocasia silver dragons, these have been doing great inside this greenhouse. I repotted them a couple weeks ago because I bought these from Walmart, and I made my own chunky mix for them, and they've been doing really, really well in them. They haven't put out any new leaves yet, but they will pretty soon. They just got to acclimate and get used to being inside of this pot. I don't need to water these yet. The bottom half of this is still pretty wet, so they'll be fine for a little bit longer. I got a bunch of propagation cuttings up here. These have been doing really well. I've been bottom watering these to help keep that water on the bottom so that the roots grow a little better. So we don't need to water these today, but we are going to do some repotting on some of these other ones that I have down here in this container. I got a bunch of seedlings and cutting props that I'm going to repot. So some polka dot plants, and then a bunch of coleus. Another thing that you can do if you're trying to water your plants and it's super hot outside, but you don't have time or you don't want to be sitting out there in the heat all the watering a million plants, you can get a large flat bucket like this one, like a more low profile. This is only about 4 to 5 inches deep. So what you can do is you can put your plants in there, your pots, and then fill it up with water about halfway up the pot, and that way they all just soak up, and just leave them outside for a good 45 minutes. That way they can soak up that water like they need to, and that way you don't have to be standing out there in the heat for 2 hours watering every single thing, making sure you're watering them just enough. Before we continue, if you guys wouldn't mind doing me a favor and clicking that subscribe button so I can continue to make videos like this for you guys, that'll be great. Soak up all this water for a good 30 or 45 minutes, and I'm gonna repot some things while we wait on that. It's creeping up on me sometimes that I should stop and just reset. Honey, where would I even go? 'Cause I've been closing all the doors. I got stuck in the high tide. Gotta have faith in that. I'll never die, I'll never go under. Beyond the clouds, I'll be remembered for who I was and what I accomplished. This most important thing to remember when you have plants outside and it's really hot is just make sure that you're keeping an eye on the watering and making sure they're hydrated enough. And then also make sure that you only let them sit in that water for probably about a good 30-45 minutes, and then dump that water out after that. You can use that water to water any other plants that you might have missed, or just dump it and get rid of it. But just make sure to keep an eye on how often things get watered when it's super hot outside. Just remember, follow your dreams, do what you love, and I promise you will succeed. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.